So I might as well tell the story of my foot. So there's this place called the Hoi An Pass. It's this beautiful mountain pass that goes from Hoi An to a place called Hue. It's about a 5 to 6 hour motorcycle moped ride. There's a company that allows you to rent a bike to drive it, and they send your luggage and you can drop the bike off in Hue. They give you a lesson at the beginning before you rent the bike to make sure you're comfortable on it. It was during that lesson that I fell and hurt my foot, which is like the worst story ever. I really wish it was a cooler story. I could lie and say it's a cooler story, but it's not. I was learning to ride. I accelerated too quickly, then went to brake and accelerated and broke at the same time, so it skidded and the bike just landed on my foot weird, and I ended up spraining it and stress fracturing a toe. And yeah, the sprain was pretty bad. My doctor here said I'll probably be in pain until Labor Day. The accident happened on April 19th, so that's a long time for, me to be in pain. I feel pretty good now. It was this foot. I've got almost full motion back. It's still a little tender at times, obviously, but feeling much better. I wear sneakers to work because they've got more support. I've been out of the boot for 2.5, 3 weeks now, which is pretty exciting. And yeah, so the story is kind of funny though, in a way, the full story. So, to set the stage. The bike falls on me, and the guy who was teaching me to ride, I've forgotten his name now, but he was lovely, an Australian, helps get the bike off of my foot. I go sit on the curb for a little bit, and he tells me I'll probably be okay, it's probably just a little sore. And I tell him, yep, okay, that sounds good, no worries. And then as the shock kind of wears off, I realize I'm in a lot of pain, and I start to cry a little bit. And I was embarrassed because he was kind of cute. So I was like, don't cry, don't cry. And he goes, it's okay, don't worry about it, it happens. I was like, no, like I'm in a lot of pain. I think I need to go to the hospital. So he gets me a cab because obviously he's working. So he gets me a cab, and I get to the hospital, and at that point I can't put any weight on my foot. And the cab driver, maybe it's a cultural thing. I'm sure in New York they'd probably drop you off too, actually. But he doesn't, like, he knows I'm in a lot of pain because obviously I couldn't walk to his cab. They had to like half carry me to my cab. But he doesn't offer to like help me get into the hospital or anything. Which again, honestly, they'd probably do the same thing in New York. So I get out and I'm trying to like hop there, but it's hard because it's, a fair distance to the entrance of the hospital. And this little girl sees me. She's probably 12 or 13 years old. And she comes up to me and she tries to help me, but I really can't put any weight on my foot. And she's smaller than me, so I don't feel comfortable putting like a lot of weight on her. So she like finds someone who's selling, I think it was like coffee, like just like a little booth. And they give me a chair and I sit down, and she goes into the hospital and they bring a wheelchair and they come out. So I get into the emergency room. I'm trying to talk to the doctor. Je parle français un peu. So I could talk to the doctor a little bit because he spoke a little bit of French, or he spoke a lot of French, and I speak a little bit of French. So we were trying to communicate in French, and then the little bit of English that the nurse spoke. And then also, luckily, I had data because I purchased a SIM card. Thank God. So I was able to type into Google Translate, what's wrong, blah, blah, blah. So they bring me into the x-ray room, and they take an x-ray of my foot. Can I just say, there was no here there's lead and stuff to protect you. Poor x-ray tech was just behind like what looked like a wooden door, and I'm kind of giggling to myself like, oh my god, like, what's happening? It was the only room in the hospital with air conditioning, so I joked, can I stay in here? Because it was really hot. So I get back, they look at the x-rays, they give them to me, which I haven't had film x-rays in a long time, and it turns out, according to them, that nothing's broken. It's just tender. That's what they keep telling me. It's just tender. It's just tender. And I said, okay, but I'm in a lot of pain. Are you sure nothing else is wrong? No, just tender. Which, again, I think things probably got lost in translation. They probably were telling me, yeah, it's really sprained, but that doesn't translate through Google. So it just kept saying it's tender, which I was like, yeah, I know, I feel it, but oh my gosh. So they give me some medication, none of which is sealed, none of which has any English on it, and I try to ask them what it is, and they can't really tell me. So then and there I decided I wasn't going to take it, because I just didn't know what it was and it wasn't sealed and I just felt a bit uneasy. So then it comes time to pay, and I had credit cards, US dollars, and Vietnamese dong. And I asked them how much it is, and they tell me 70 US. And I didn't have 70 US, and I didn't have the equivalent in dong, but combined I would have. But they said they didn't want mixed currency, they wanted it all in dong. And I said, okay, but where's an ATM? Like, I need to go to one type thing. And I was kind of hoping, honestly, that they'd just take my card, or that someone would take my card to an ATM, because at that point I really didn't care. I didn't have that much money left in, because when I was traveling I had my, bank card, but then I had the card I was traveling with, and I would just load money onto that as needed. So I didn't have that much money on it because I hadn't loaded money on it that day yet, because I didn't need to, because it would automatically go over like really quick, so I didn't ever have to worry about it. So the worst they could do was take I think 200 Australian from me, which I kind of at that point was like, I don't really care. Like, I just want to get treated and go back to my hostel and talk to my parents and figure out what to do next. He takes me outside and they make me get on the back of another motorcycle with my foot bandaged. I'm still in a lot of pain because I haven't had any medication or anything. They did give me an injection in my butt, which made me so nervous because I was like, oh man, this is a third world country. Should I really be getting an injection? Screw it, I'm in pain. I don't really care right now. So he puts me on the back of a motorcycle and drives me to an ATM. And every bump we go over is excruciating as it shoots pain up my leg. And we get to the ATM vestibule, and there's a step to get into it. And again, he's someone who works for the hospital but doesn't offer to help me get into the vestibule or anything. So I have to put weight on my foot to hoist myself in. Oh my gosh, it was terrible. So I take out the money I need, go back to the hospital, I pay them, I get in a cab. They don't give me crutches or anything. They just wrap my foot and tell me not to walk for 10 days. So I get in a cab, I go back to my hostel. Again, doesn't offer, even though I've got a wrapped foot, doesn't offer to help me get into the hostel, just drops me. So I hop on one foot to where people can see me, and I call out to this boy, Jeremy, who I had been chatting with, who was in an arm sling because of a motorcycle accident. Jeremy, I took your advice. I decided I was going to ride the Hoi An Pass by myself. Because, side note, I was telling everyone I wasn't going to do it because it made me nervous. He looks at me and goes, oh my god, it's all my fault. So then I call my parents and I tell them that since I'm in a lot of pain and I only have 14 days left on my visa anyway, and they've just told me not to walk on it for 10 days, I'm going to try to come home. So I end up finding a flight that leaves from Da Nang, which is an hour away, to get me home on Easter Sunday. So it worked out. So I stayed in this hostel until I left for Da Nang on the Saturday night. So I was only there for one night with my foot like that, but they were so good to me. They'd ask me if I was hungry, and then they'd just bring me food and stuff. And then I also was so sweaty because there was no air conditioning, and they made me a makeshift handicap shower. They found an old milk crate and put it in the shower, and all of the Vietnamese toilets had bum guns, so a bidet but handheld. So I just showered using that because it's clean water, and they were just so good to me. They really were good to me. They made sure I stayed in the bottom bunk because they were going to switch me to a top one, and I was like, I can't be in a top one. But they were so good to me. They found crutches for me to use while I was there, which was really great. I didn't really go around much, but it let me walk around the hostel a little bit, which was really nice. And then once I get to the airport, I don't have my crutches anymore because they're still at the hostel. And the guy who drove me, I hired a car because at that point I was just really uncomfortable. And I figured if I hired a car, he'd be more likely to help me. He puts me on one of those luggage carts and pushes me into the entrance and finds some an airport employee and explains to her oh, she can't walk, look at her foot, help her. So she didn't speak a lick of English, and we're trying to communicate, and she's being so sweet, and she finds me someone that works for Korean Air because that's where I was flying, Korean Air through Delta, and they got me my wheelchair, and it was great. Honestly, it was fine, and I ended up getting upgraded. My parents helped me out and upgraded me so that I'd be more comfortable and have a little bit more space because at that point I was flying coach and was going to be in a middle seat, and I just kind of felt like there was no way I was going to be able to actually like do that, because if somebody bumped my foot by accident or anything, I was going to be in a lot of pain. And then also if I had to get up like to pee, I wouldn't be able to like climb over somebody, you know, and I didn't want to inconvenience anyone and make them have to get up or help me or anything. So my parents helped me out and upgraded me to business so that I would at least like have more space, be able to recline and elevate my foot and stuff, which was really good. And on, like, in the air, Korean Air was really good to me. The flight attendants on both the flight to South Korea and then South Korea to New York were really good to me. They helped me every time I needed to pee. I'd push the button, they'd come and like help me get to the bathroom, and they'd wait outside for me. They were so good. They were just like really excellent, really excellent. There was a really nice lady who was from the Midwest in the Korean lounge who helped me out, because between flights you're on your own, you know, and so I was in a wheelchair, and man, that's an arm workout getting around in a wheelchair. And I was really hungry, and I was trying to like work up the strength to like wheel myself over, and also like balancing things in a wheelchair is really hard. I don't know how people do it all the time. Holy cow. And this really nice lady like came up to me and asked if I needed or wanted anything, and so she grabbed me some stuff, and it was just really nice of her. And then once I got to New York, the Delta greeted me, you know, at the airport, as stewardess helped me get out of the airplane, and then the guy with the wheelchair was there, and he got my bags and got me through immigration and all that stuff. But they were really good. They were really good. I don't have any complaints about Delta or Korean Air throughout that whole experience. It was really, they really helped me out. And when I was trying to get upgraded, there was like a little bit of a hiccup, and the guy I talked to on the phone was really helpful as well. Yeah, it was really good. You know, not great that I hurt my foot, but honestly everything went pretty smoothly, other than, you know, being on the back of a motorcycle again. But no, everybody I dealt with was really helpful. The hostel I stayed at, the Hoi An Villa, was really helpful. I was paying like $3 a night, and they treated me like it was a 5-star hotel. Were really helpful and good. Yeah, no complaints, honestly. And then when I got back to the States, I saw a doctor on Monday. I landed on Easter Sunday, so I saw a doctor the next day, and I did have a small stress fracture in my 2 little toes. I did break them, but I put them back into place pretty well, apparently, so that was good. Because when the bike got lifted off my foot, you know, if your toes are supposed to be pointing at 12 o'clock, they were at 9 o'clock. So I knew they were broken, but you can't do anything for a broken toe. But yeah, the doctor said it's the soft tissue injury I really have to be careful about, because that takes longer to heal. So that's the story of my foot. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be getting on a motorcycle again anytime soon, especially not driving one. Especially because I really shouldn't have had an accident like that. It was so ridiculous and silly. I wish it was a cooler story, I really do, but it wasn't. And I don't really feel like lying about it, because it's still kind of a cool story. How many people can say they hurt their foot in Vietnam? I met a girl while I was working here in Stanford who broke her foot falling out of bed. So I've got a cooler story than that, you know? Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!